Hello everybody, Joe David, Managing Director of Elementos. Thank you for everyone for hanging around on the Friday for the last 3 sessions. It's much appreciated. It's been a long week for many of the people in the room, so again, thank you for the support. So we're a tin developer, and I say developer with an underline. We have not put a drill rig into either our deposits for a couple of years now because we are very focused on bringing our 2 projects into production, specifically our flagship project, which is the Oropesa Tin Project in Spain. And it's not, here we go. Perfect, thank you. Cautionary statement, happy to move through that. That's up on the ASX. Here we are. Okay, so we've got 2 mines, as I said. We've got the Oropesa Tin Project, which is our most advanced asset in Andalucía in Spain. Critically, don't view Spain as Spain, view it as the autonomous region which the project is within. Andalucía is the #1 mining region in Spain. 90% of Spain's metal mining revenue comes out of Andalucía. It's got the very large copper miners, of which Sandfire is the largest Australian in the area, as well as, First Quantum was there, just bought out by RCF. Grupo Mexico, one of the biggest mining companies in the world, is also in the region. And Freeport-McMoRan owns the copper smelter down on the coast there. So very large mining industry, very well supported by the regulators, including downstream smelting. The Cleveland Tin Mine is an old operating asset, operated for about 35 years in Tasmania before shutting down in 1986 when the tin price collapsed. And we've picked it up in the early 2010s, and we're developing that now as a tin and tungsten project. And that tungsten's got a whole bunch of other critical minerals in it, which are currently undergoing metallurgical test work, including moly, bismuth, rubidium, which is a very exciting one, and also fluorite. So very much looking forward to putting out those metallurgical results to the market in the next couple of months. So tin, there's a couple of us tin presenters coming up today. So you might hear this story a bit, but it's a pretty similar story to copper, except the tin market's about 2% the size of the copper market. So basically all the supply shocks are felt more significantly, and the increase in demand also has a significant effect. Basically, the pipeline of tin projects is not many. There's a handful of us, and Ollie from Sky will get up after me, and they've got a very good project in New South Wales as well. But effectively, between, you've probably got 20% of the tin market of the project's going to come online the next 10 years sitting in this room. So whilst the copper market is also in deficit, there is a very, very big pipeline of copper projects that will be economic at various copper prices. Tin market, it's basically about 10 of us to come online. And even with pretty much all the projects coming online, the market still looks like it's going to be in deficit. 3 major suppliers, China, Indonesia and Myanmar, all dropping off in tonnes. As you can see here, also the grades dropped off 18% in the last 10 years. So why is tin important? 51% of it currently goes into electronic solder. All the growth moving forward, solder. Solder is obviously the connections between all electrical circuits. So if you believe in electrification, data centres, AI, all that, we need more computing power. There is no way that happens without tin. The only replacements for tin in solder, lead got removed a number of years ago. The only replacements are silver or gold. So good luck making those more economic than tin and solder. So moving on, the tin price has responded. Multiple supply shocks. They keep happening when you have most of the tin mining supply coming out of countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo, Myanmar, Indonesia and China, as well as some South American countries. No surprise, there is always a supply shock somewhere in that supply chain. Obviously, I've covered where the demand's going to come from on the electrification story. That is clear. But basically, you'll see that the supply shocks keep coming. It's a very challenged market. New supply is required. So basically, back Elementos, back Sky, back any other 10 players, I think it's going to be great for the rest of the entire sector. And we really see ourselves as a collegiate approach in tin. We really don't see ourselves as competitors at all. So our main projects in Europe. Europe has absolutely no tin supply. Europe has absolutely no tin supply. North America has absolutely no tin supply. It is coming out of, as I said, Asia, Africa and South America, and certainly it's on most Western countries' critical minerals list for that reason. Unfortunately not on Australia's yet, but I think that will soon change. And basically there is a very, very healthy story moving forward. So for us, we're a little bit different from most of the other tin guys you'll see, or the explorers or developers. We have an option over a smelter in Europe. So we're going to be fully vertically integrated in Europe. Why is that important? Obviously, for the government strategic, political reasons, it ticks a lot of boxes, but all good business decisions are underwritten by economics, and there's about $1,000 tin premium for deliveries of tin metal in Europe. So for us, the economics, tin's currently floating around about $53,000 a tonne on the LME. For tin deliveries in Europe, that's about $54,000 at the moment. So that compensates for a European-based smelting solution. So basically vertical integration and not having to take that tin anywhere outside of the European Union is very much appreciated by the regulators that we're currently dealing with on our permitting. So this is probably a slide that covered most of what I just said there, but no tin supply out of Europe and North America, very little out of Australia, and there's certainly a lot of allied nations very worried about where their tin's going to come from. We have a option over the Roble Yadano tin smelter. We will become a 50% owner of that tin smelter. It's also doing a number of lead, antimony and gold products or gold byproducts at the moment. So it's a very interesting asset in its own, but our key reason we took it is to ensure that we'll be vertically integrated, won't have to rely on a contractual relationship, we'll be an owner, and we'll make sure that tin ends up in Europe and gets that premium market. We also have an agreement with Atlantic Copper, which is owned by Freeport-McMoran. We have done some test work on some lower grade tin concentrates, and we'll potentially send some of our lower grade, higher impurity tin con down to their e-waste facility that they've just bought and is a strategic project for the European Union. So some good conversations there. We've delivered our DFS. We're in the back end of permitting. This is me in May with the Andalucian Mines and Energy Minister. His government just got re-elected. He just got renamed Mining Minister last week. So certainly we're very close to the people that matter. And he came out after the tin conference in May there and said we should have our permits by the end of this year. So very nice to see politicians, especially in Europe, coming out publicly and backing mining projects. So we were very fortunate the entire tin community went to Seville in May. The tin conference meets every 2 years, and they hosted the tin conference in Seville in May. We were fortunate enough to take the tin industry to our project and our smelter. And whilst we all look very casual on that project, the chairman of the biggest tin company in the world, Yunnan Tin, a number of the big international traders were all there, as well as a number of financiers and banks. So we had the guys that you want in the part of the project we're in, which is basically talking to off-takers, talking to financiers in the back end of our permitting. We're all there on site a couple of months ago. So fantastic progress being made. So we have a 15.9 million tonne ore reserve. Obviously, with ore reserves, they're the more mature and more, you've done the modifying factors and the economics for the project to be able to declare an ore reserve. There's a number of other tin projects that are putting out their resource statement, which is great. We are further along, and as I said, we've done our full DFS, so the technical and economic assessments are done. 90% of that DFS was backed by market contractor pricing, and we are very engaged with the market to match when we get our financing and our permits come in. We'll be shovel ready. So yeah, this is just some slides showing the engineering and where we got to, but I'll fly through those due to time. But like every project in a DFS now, everything's been three-dimensional modelled, all the packages interact, ready for the detailed due diligence we're currently doing with a number of parties. So when we put out our DFS last year, we did it at $30,000 a tonne. That was nice and conservative. The current tin price today is about $53,000, or yesterday it was just under $54,000. Unfortunately, I can only reference the numbers that I did put my sensitised in my DFS, but the highest number we put in our DFS was $42,500, and you see we had about a $730 million NPV. Currently, the tin price is over $10,000 higher than that, so the number is very healthy indeed. Come have a chat to me at the booth if you want to know what that current NPV number is. Exploration-wise, we have not fully explored this deposit. We ring-fenced it when we had enough resources to ensure that we could get our DFS completed. You can continue to drill these things for a very long time and make them bigger, and we're very certain that the mine life will extend and maybe in the future be able to also increase the throughput. But we wanted to ring fence this, get it DFS completed, get it funded, and then look to do those expansions at a further time. We also have a zinc resource on the project, but currently the DFS doesn't include that, but we'll look at that for some blue sky opportunity as well. So then we move to our second project, and I hate calling it our second project, but in the last 5 years in terms of management effort, it has been our second project. But we have the old Cleveland tin mine in Tasmania. As I said, shut down in '86. It was run by Aberfoyle Resources for about 35 years, including an early history where it served the Allies in World War I. Traditionally, it's produced both a tin and a copper concentrate from the top levels. I've really simplified this here, but you'll see from that picture there, we've got 7.5 million tonnes of tin still in the old mine, and that's where the yellow sort of highlighted area is close to surface. The green going through that is the established decline. That is still an accessible decline, could get major equipment still down there, so we'll rehab that. But what's get us extra excited is the fact that when they closed the mine down, they just identified the top of a tungsten resource, about 300 metres below surface. Subsequent work by Elementos, including a drill hole we did in 2024, which had about 650 metres of intersected mineralisation. We also re-assayed a lot of historic core sitting in the Tasmanian Core Library. We've been able to lift that tungsten resource up to about 8.5 million tonnes. That's sitting at about 0.24% cut-off grade, which is very good for tungsten. It is all wolframite. Wolframite is the easier form of tungsten to process. You can get most of it through gravity processing. You don't need a big flotation circuit on the back. We're doing all the met work for that. Those results will be out in the next couple of months. But what makes it also pretty exciting is historically they'd identified the tungsten, but they hadn't identified all the other critical minerals that we have now identified, and we're currently assaying and doing metallurgical test work. So within that tungsten ore body, co-mineralised all the way through, we have bismuth and molybdenum, so they're heavies, they go with the tungsten, will be separated out in the gravity plant. But we also have rubidium, which is one of those very, very niche minerals currently selling for $2 million a tonne, but very, very niche and needs a bit of extra work. So we currently have that metallurgical test work going on in a lab in Germany, and we'll be very interested to see what those results are. That could really change the story for this project. We still think it's going to be a very, very good story with the tungsten, but certainly if the rubidium byproduct comes up as recoverable, this project will get very, very exciting very quickly. In terms of the flow sheet, that's still to be developed and announced through the metallurgical test work, but we did put it through the ore sorters. You guys will have heard this story many, many times over the last couple of days. Ore sorters work very well, and they work very well on very dense minerals, tin and tungsten included. Our 0.24% ROM or feed grade of the mineralisation goes up to about 1% before it enters the process plant. So right there, the scale and the economics can be greatly improved. So who are we? Elementos. We've got a very dynamic board. My chairman's a guy called Andy Gregg. He owns 13% of the company and has backed the company for many years. He worked for Bechtel, US's biggest engineering construction firm, as well as running their mining and metals division for 13 years. Metals X has invested in us. They're Australia's biggest tin mining company. They own the Renison Bell tin mine in Tasmania. Brett Smith, their ED, and their CFO Daniel is also on our board. In terms of where we're sitting, we've had some very good investment this year. We have $40 million worth of cash, so we are not come raise. We can hit all the milestones we want to hit at the back end of this year and still have some cash left over when we go into FID. So very exciting. We got L1 Capital on the register in February this year. They put $30 million into the company, and certainly they're a very, very significant fund in Australia, and we're very happy to have them on the register with Metals X. And we're basically going to get the permitting done back end of this year. We're talking to people on the funding side. We're talking to off-takers. It's really the end of the story, and it's all going to come together. So come have a chat to me if you want to know any more. Thank you very much.